One of the challenges that game developers face is how to handle all the different parameters for our skills and our weapons and our guns. So therefore, in this tutorial, we'll be making and implementing a skill database that will handle all those parameters for us. Furthermore, it will help us to write more concise code and give us an overview so that it will be easier for us to balance all the different skills and weapons in our game for a better player experience. If you're new to the channel and you want to learn how to design and make games, or maybe you just want to learn more about Godot, then subscribe to this channel and don't forget to hit that little bell icon to make sure you don't miss out on anything. Also, if you got any questions for me about this tutorial, about Godot in general, or maybe about the game development I'm doing myself, I'm streaming every Tuesday and Thursday on Twitch. You can find all the details, links, and my schedule down in the description box below. Now let's get started on that database. So one of the first questions you might be asking yourself is, should I implement a skill database? And that's a very valid question because the answer isn't always yes. Let's have a look at our code and see what problems it's going to fix for us. And then you can see if you are facing similar problems within your game development, and then you can answer the question whether you should or shouldn't implement that skill database that we're talking about. So within our game so far, within this tutorial series, we have 3 scenes and attached scripts that are of interest to us. We have the player, the ranged single target skill, and the ranged area of effect skill. Under the player script, we are matching the selected skill when we hit the button, we hit fire, to 3 different skill names that we have implemented so far. Now, as we create more and more and more skills, these match commands are going to be longer and longer and longer. Imagine we got 50 single target skills. That means that this line is not just going to be fireball and ice spear, but 48 other skills. Same for our area of effect, and same it would be, for example, when we implement auras or debuffs or buffs for our own party. Now, once we have started the skill and one of the skill scenes is loaded, we are again making a match command for, in this case, fireball and ice spear. But again, if we have 50 in total, we will have to be creating 48 more of these match commands, making this total match function a very, very long piece of code with a lot of lines. Is not going to be concise, and soon we'll start missing having a sort of an overview. Furthermore, all the parameters of the skills are in different locations. They'll all be here for single target skills, but what if you want to compare their damage values to, for example, the ranged area of effect skill? Like, you want to make sure that the damage values are balanced so that the one type of skill is not overpowered compared to the other. And having all these parameters within different scripts is going to be a drawback when you're working on balancing your game. So all of that is not really going to be a problem if you only got about 12 15 skills or something similar like that. But as soon as you go over that, fixing all these parameters are fixing the problems of having an overview and writing concise code are going to be fixed by implementing a database. And then I advise you to implement a database. And that's not that difficult. We're going to be doing this in only a couple of minutes. So ask yourself, how many skills do I have? Or when you're making a shooter, how many different guns and ammunition do I have? Because, for example, armor piercing, incendiary, hollow point, and normal bullets are in one AR-15 are basically 4 different skills. So ask yourself, how many of those variances do I have within the parameters of my skills or weapons? And then you can answer yourself the question, should you or should you not implement a skill database? Now let's get working on implementation. So I'll see you in the next part. Now for our database, we're going to be making use of a JSON dictionary. Right here you can see the compiled JSON file that I've already made for our fireball, ice spear and lava bomb. Now you might be wondering, oh, whoa, this doesn't really provide us with the overview that you were promising us. And you're totally right, but as I said, I've not written this, I've compiled this. And the way I compile this is making use of a spreadsheet. That's right, you can put all your skill data straight in an Excel file, straight in a Google Sheet file, and then simply compile it to JSON. All you have to do is find the right add-on. So I have created a spreadsheet, skill data, and within that spreadsheet I've simply added my 3 skills, and on the columns I have put all the different skill parameters from the projectile speed to the delay time for our area of effect skills. And by implementing or making use of a spreadsheet, you have options for all the filter options, saying I only want the ranged area of effect skills, for example. You can sort by damage values to see which one has the highest damage or the lowest damage. You can make use of all those options that a spreadsheet provides, that once you already have 50 skills and you want to implement skill number 51, it's very easy to determine what the parameters should be based on how you want that skill to function within the game. Is it an early game skill, a late game skill, or a late game weapon for that matter, or maybe a late game type of ammunition? You can very quickly see where you want it to be within your game in terms of game design. Then you can see what the current parameter values are of the skills you've already implemented. You can very quickly find those in the spreadsheet, and then you'll be able to add that skill quite easily by simply adding another row to the spreadsheet. Then when that's all done, we go to add-ons, export sheet data. Now the specific add-on that I'm using right now, I'll link it down in the description below so you can get it for your Google Sheets as well. If you want to make use of your Excel, that's no problem. You just have to find a JSON compiler add-on for Excel. They exist, but I don't have a link for them right now. We open the sidebar, and when there, all the settings are immediately correct for the add-on that I have linked. You simply have to change the export sheets to current sheet only. By default, that will be on all. We're going to be exporting, and that will be compiling our JSON file. And when that's done, right now, you see it right pop up here with a new timestamp. This is the JSON that's being given to us. So with this JSON file, just coming straight out of Excel, we have all the overview we need in Excel, and every time we implement something new or we change one of the parameters, we only have to compile a new JSON and drag that to our game folder. So what do is you right-click the skill data JSON file that we just compiled, you download it, that will put it in your download folder, and then from your download folder, you simply drag it to your Godot project. So within my Godot project folder structure, I have a folder called data, and that's where I put all this kind of JSON database type of documents, so I have them all neatly organized together and I can always access them. So now that the JSON file is within our Godot folder structure, we can access it within our Godot project. So let's start working on our importer function to import this data into Godot. Now to load this data of the JSON file into Godot, we're going to be making use of a singleton, a auto-loaded script. This is a script which is always loaded whenever the game is started. So anything placed under the ready function of that script will be run as soon as the game starts and before any other node is put onto the game folder or the game structure. So to make that, I'm going to be making this script within the data folder, as it will be handling the data within. So we're going to make a new script. It's going to be a normal node. It's going to be an empty template. And I'm going to call this singleton, this script, data import. The reason I call it data import and not skill import is we're probably going to have some more files, some more database files to be loaded into the game when the game is started. And the data import can perfectly handle more than one skill database. There's no problem, more than one database, I should say. So we create that. And when we create it, we can immediately go to our project settings on the top here. We can go to our auto load tab, and we can approach in data our data import.godot folder or script, and we can add it. And here you can see that singleton is automatically enabled. Now what this does, this auto loading, is that when I run the game and I have a look at the remote, so here I can see all the nodes that are loaded currently within this play scene, is that it loads the entire map scene as we would expect, but before anything else is loaded, it loads that data import singleton, this auto-loaded file. Is loaded before anything else is loaded onto the game, and that's what we need to make sure that this data is in the game before any node may require it. Now, to actually load the data into it, we of course have to be making a function. So when we open the script, data import.gd, we're going to paste this little bit of code. Oh, I see I have a small indent problem. So let's pull this back a little bit. And what we do is we're going to be creating a new variable called skill data. And this skill data variable is going to have the entire database. So this is what we'll be using within all the other scripts after this part. So under the ready function, so as soon as the script is loaded, we're going to be defining a new skill data file, which is a new file. And then we open the file, the skill data sheet1 JSON that we have just downloaded from the Google Drive and put in our data folder structure, our project folder structure. We make it a read-only because we only need to read the data. Then we again create a new variable called skill data JSON that's going to be using the JSON parse function, and is going to get all the information within that skill data file that we have just opened up there, and we're going to get that as text. Then we can close the file because we don't need to have that file open all the time. It's only going to be taking resources, so we can close the file. And then we're going to be defining the skill data, the variable on the top here. We're going to be defining it as that skill data JSON that we have right here, and the results of whatever this JSON parse gave within this variable. Now, if I would print the skill data and we would run the game again, you can see that it plays this code, it runs this code right from the start of the script, and we have all this data now readily available within Godot. We don't need to print this anymore, but it's a demonstration of that. It runs the code immediately when the game launches, and it loads all that skill data that we have put into that Excel spreadsheet. Now let's start replacing some of the functions or updating some of the functions within those free scripts that we had at the start of this tutorial, and let's upgrade them to make use of this new SCADA skill database. Let's start with our player script. In the player script, we were matching the fireball and ice spear here with the selected skill, or in the name of the selected skill, to figure out whether we needed range single target skill scene or the ranged area of effect skill scene. In our database, however, we have added a skill type, range single target skill and ranged AoE skill. And if we would have 50 more, they would all have a type. So right now we are matching the name of the skill because we don't have that type, or we did not have that type available within Godot. We didn't know that yet. That information wasn't available. But now with the database, that information is available. So instead of matching 50 different skill names here, if we expand on our skill system, let's just match the type. To do that, we of course have to be accessing that database. The way to do that is you first type the name of the script that it's in. So that's the data import script we just made our singleton of. Then we have to go to the parameter, the variable within that script. So that's going to be the skill data. Now the skill data is a dictionary, and every dictionary makes use of keys. A key holds a certain amount of information. Now you can see the keys that we have within the JSON file itself. Those keys are fireball, and fireball has all this information. And then we have ice spear, which has all of this information. The way you create these keys is actually very easy, because when you compile the JSON from the spreadsheet, the first column is automatically the name of the key. So if you want to have a skill ID on top of a skill name, you would simply add a column in front of this and simply add that ID number. For us, however, we decided on having the skill names as their IDs. So that means that selected skill that we had from the prior code can be the dictionary key that we need now, or to use now, to retrieve the correct information. And the information we want to retrieve out of that key is of course our skill type. Now that skill type is very simply the column name of the column right here. So skill type, skill damage, skill projectile speed, those are being put into the JSON file as our different information parameters. Now with this done, we no longer get a name here, but we get a skill type. So that also means that we have to be matching it to a different to every type of skill that there is. So that's the ranged single target skill. And instead of lava bomb, we can match this to ranged AoE skill. Now with this done, we could be adding 1,000 different skills, and we would never have to change the code. We would never have to expand on the match command, because as long as we give them a existing skill type within this match command, the match command will be able to run without any adjustments in the code. All you have to do is add the skill with the correct skill type in your database. So this So the little script now has had an update. This is now much more concise. We don't have to upgrade it for every skill we add, and we get all the data out of our database. Now let's move on to the two different skills that we have. For our arranged single target skill, it's currently matching the fireball and the ice spear and setting all kinds of parameters. But actually, this entire match command becomes unnecessary with the database that we have just set, because we already know that we are having a single target skill and we know that the information is available within the database that we need. So all we need to do is we go again into our script, our data import. We collect the skill data. Again, we use the skill name. This time it's not selected skill, but within this script we name this skill name. It's right there. And we're going to be retrieving the skill damage, I believe I named it. Let's double verify that. Yeah, we got skill damage and skill projectile speed. Let's copy paste this. So within Godot, we can very easily build our database references. So now we're collecting that data, and of course we want the damage that we set here, we want this to be equal to that data we collect from the database. Same for projectile speed. So now I'm already setting the damage and the projectile speed, and this entire match command is no longer necessary. So just like that, we have upgraded this this piece of code. If we would add 50, 100, 1,000 skills, it wouldn't matter. Every single target skill is now going to have their correct damage values and their correct projectile speeds being taken straight out of the database. And every time you add a new skill, you will not have to expand the match command to accommodate for that skill, because as long as in that database, these variable database lookups are going to be taking the skill name that we already collect from our skill bar, and it's going to be putting it straight in a lookup to the database to collect the correct damage and projectile speed values, or any other parameter or value that you might want to change based on the skill type that you're firing. So let's have a look if this all still works. Then you can see that functionally we have not changed anything to our skills. So we still have the fireball dealing a lot of damage, being slow, the ice spear being fast and low damage, and the area of effect, oh, well, that's not working right now. Well, there you go, it doesn't always go correct, does it? I made one small mistake in that the K here of skill was still capitalized, and that needs to be a small k. If that would have been the case, then that AoE skill would have worked. Talking about AoE skills, let's go straight into our ranged AoE skill script and update that as well. And we will run that test again to make sure that it works after we finish this. And you'll see that that was just that small minor mistake. So right now we don't have a match command within our AoE skill to replace, because we have not made a match command yet, as we only have one AoE skill. If we would have had several AoE skills, it would have looked a little bit like this, the match commands, in which of course after the first match we would have matched it with, for example, a meteor skill or grenade, rocket, or whatever. Yeah, I know you need a column and a pass. So let's assume that we would have made the match command in the last episode when we created this AoE skill mechanic, and then of course would have meant that we had deleted the parameters on the top here, and we're currently setting the animation to lava bomb. We can remove this altogether actually, and instead of animation we can play the actual skill name, as the skill name is exactly the same as the animation name. So now let's go with the parameters that we want to fill from the database. That's the damage delay time, the remove delay time, and we want to get the node collision shape to D, and we want to set its radius. This little code is basically a lookup to this collision shape, and in the inspector under shape you have a radius in case you work with a circle shape 2D, and that radius is determining how big the collision shape is. So if I would add this to 250, I would be increasing the size in which the AoE skill is effective. And of course different AoE skills can have different radiuses, so that's definitely something you want to be taking up into your database parameters so that you can set the values accordingly for every different skill that you have. Now we can define all these parameters from our database. So that is our data import, again our skill data. Then we're gonna input the skill name that's also available in this script on the top right there, and then we have to be retrieving a value. Now this is exactly the same for all of these, and then we can add the names. That is the skill damage, the skill damage delay time, the skill remove delay time, and the skill radius. Now we're still getting an error. Oh, that error is gone already. So with that, and these of course are all values of right here: skill damage, skill radius, skill damage delay time, and skill remove delay time from the database column names. So then we would have been able to remove this match command. The last two lines of code I've added here are of course to set the texture appropriately so that the correct animations and the correct visuals are playing. And with that done, we can play the game, and I can demonstrate that the area of effect skill is actually working as we had intended. I hope this was helpful, guys, and that you now know whether you should or should not be implementing a database, and if you should, that you know how to make that database and how to make the correct lookups within your game code to make use of that database to its full functionality. If you like this video, then please give it your like, smash that subscribe button if you hadn't done so already, and don't forget to hit that bell icon if you want to make sure that you don't miss out on any video that I'll be creating furthermore in this combat series and the other series that are going to come afterwards. Also, if you got any questions, as always, you can put them down in the comments box below, or you can find me on my Twitch stream where I stream my own game development. You can find me there every Tuesday and Thursday. All the links, descriptions, and schedule are right down in that description box below. Alright guys, that's it for today. Keep on coding, keep on gaming. I'll see you in the next episode.